today's leadership and team development tool is above the line and below the line. And this one is so important, so crucial in these times of change that we're dedicating 10 minutes to this video. So let's take a look at what the entire model looks like, and then what we will do is methodically go through the different pieces so that we can see the whole. So here's the entire model. And what you see is there is definitely a line. And there's a set of behaviors and a mental mindset that means that a team is above the line. And then there's a set of behaviors and a mental mindset that clearly show that a team or an individual is below the line. So when we start to look at above the line and below the line, what we're doing is above the line can be simply defined when a team uses its resources. So we're in communication, we're hitting deadlines, we're hitting performance. We know how to move through conflict, we know how to make decisions. And when we're below the line, well, you can see where we wouldn't be using all of our resources. So let's look at behaviors on the first side, and then we will shift to the mindset that individuals and teams need to know and understand. So first, the behaviors of above the line. Here what you see are individuals and teams that take ownership for their work and for helping others. There's also this sense of acceptance. Success, accepts, oops, a little failure, get back up, move on. And there is a deep sense of responsibility to the self, for my own work, to the team, and to the organization as a whole. There's also intentional. I know how to use my time. I know how to make decisions. And there's a conscious choice to be above the line. Before teams even know that there is a line, there's no way for them to pull themselves above it. But knowing what the behaviors look like, they can make a shift as soon as they recognize they've fallen below the line. And then the final behavior is what's happening. So these teams can say, here's what happened, instead of creating this great big drama story where you don't even know what occurred, but you know who's wrong. So that's the set of behaviors for above the line. Yes, above the line. Now let's take a look at the behaviors for below the line. This is when people tend to blame others, or there's almost a sense of avoidance. I don't want to do that work. I think that I'll be sick that day. They're just avoiding. And then a lot of denial. We're fine. There's just no way for us to get better. If we didn't have a budget cut, we'd be able to do our work. And there's some impulsivity that goes on, especially during this pandemic period where we're like, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this, let's try that, which can create a culture of chaos unless you pull yourself back above the line into what do we intentionally want to do based upon all of those things that we tried. There's unconscious scripts going on in the background. We're never going to be able to do that. I don't know whose idea that was. And it's kind of this niggling thing that nobody says out loud. And these teams, or when you hit this spot, start to look at who did it, not what happened. Interesting, isn't it? Now let's shift to the mindsets. Here we have the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. We're willing to learn new things. So there's a willingness. Willingness pulls action. And failure is looked at as a part of the learning process. Perseverance is very strong in this team. And then discovers new strengths. Wow, I never knew I'd be good at that, but now I am. And so you guys can ask me the questions. I can be the subject matter expert at that. And then inspired by success, we feel motivated because we are able to take actions that pull us forward. And there's a willingness. I'm willing to move myself and the team. When we look at below the line mindsets, we find something called a fixed mindset. Now, every one of us has found ourselves inside the fixed mindset. So let's just show what it looks like. This is the way we've always done it. Oh, wow, that'll work now, won't it? Failure equals me. I'm the failure. Avoiding learning, avoiding any shift at all. Feeling shame for not knowing. Well, how could we know everything? But this is part of the fixed mindset. And then there's no use trying. I don't know why we're doing this. There's no use. And there's a sense of willfulness, which is really interesting, and we have all been there. Willfulness looks a little bit like this. Yeah, go ahead, make me change. And so now what you see are the behaviors and mindsets of above the line, which is using all of our resources, and below the line, which is leaking all of our resources. Now, what if I could tell you how to move yourself and your team from below the line to above the line? All right, now we have a new whiteboard, and we're going to explore iceberg theory. It's interesting when you know about icebergs, because the tip that we see above that ocean line is just the smallest portion of the iceberg. Most of the iceberg lies just below the ocean line. Now, when we think about organizational development or bringing people from below the line to above the line, what we know is we need to shift the iceberg. So, once a team sees the video about above the line and below the line, and they start to share their stories, this is where I think I'm above the line, I'm totally below the line here. I just never had a language for it. That creates the safety for the team to actually start to explore what's happening for us. This is finding the emotional intelligence even in a remote setting or in that crazy hybrid setting of sometimes I'm in the office and sometimes I'm in Zoom. So here what we're doing is, now that we are using the same language and we start to tell our story, and then we recognize, ooh, I didn't even know that that's what had happened, and we start to pull ourselves up, what you see is that we create layers on this iceberg, and those layers pop unused potential back into action. So now, our potential is actionable. We're starting to see there's different ways for us to do the work inside of the realities that are existing for our team right now. So when you put iceberg theory together with above the line and below the line, it's really interesting, isn't it? Here's a 1, 2, 3 to create an action plan for yourself and your team. First, you have to share the video with the team. This is very important. They have to see that things can actually move, and they need to hear the language and start to put it inside of themselves. Then, you start to share your story about when you're above the line and when you're below the line. And then someone else will share their story, and someone else will share their story. And that's how you create the safety to begin to talk about and to bring emotional intelligence back into your team meeting. And then number 3 is to start using the language inside of your one-on-one coaching sessions. Where are we above the line and where are we below the line? What's something right below the line that if we talked about it, we could unleash more of our potential? So that's the end of the video. Your 1, 2, 3, just one more time. Share the video with your team. Then share your story about when you're above the line and when you've been below the line. And then start using that language inside of your one-on-one, one-with-one coaching sessions and inside of team meetings. I just really want to thank you for making it through this video. This is going to be transformational when you use it. So feel free to just use it as much as you need to. And then I'll see you at our next leadership video time. Have a growth mindset week.